Chapter 40 of the Tao Te Ching is brief. Return is the movement of the Tao. Yielding is the way of the Tao. All things in the world are born from being. Being is born from non-being. Earlier, Lao Tzu told us the Tao is invisible. It is beyond words. It is neither moving nor still. So why does he say that return is the movement of the Tao? What does return mean in this context? The Tao itself has no inherent movement or stillness. It has no return or non-return. But we are human beings. We have subjective perspectives and personal standpoints. In the Chinese tradition, learning is not for its own sake. It is pursued for the sake of living. It serves human life, survival, and growth. So, Lao Tzu observes nature from a human standpoint. From that standpoint, we share a common understanding. Death is the opposite of life. Would anyone say life is the opposite of death? Probably not. We say life is arrival and death is departure. They are simply different states of existence. In common understanding, death is the reverse of life. Misfortune is the reverse of fortune. Non-being is the reverse of being. From life to death, from fortune to misfortune, from being to non-being. All of this is captured in the word return. Return actually carries three meanings. The first is returning to the origin. This means going back to the source. The second is development reaching its extreme. At that point, something transforms into its opposite. Any situation will inevitably turn into its reverse. The third meaning is complementary opposition. These are opposites that complete each other. Think of a wheel. The top moves forward while the bottom moves backward. Forward and backward happen simultaneously. They work together. So, what is movement? Movement is the process of operation. Return is the movement of the Tao can be understood this way. The Tao moves through natural cycles. It cycles by returning to the root. It goes back to the source, then expands outward again. This repeats endlessly. This is how all things sustain themselves. This is how they continue to flourish. We see this in everyday reality as well. People grow older, things wear out, situations deteriorate. That is the observable truth. But this can still be difficult to grasp. So Lao Tzu adds another line. Yielding is the way of the Tao. Remaining soft and yielding is the most effective application. It is the core of the Tao's movement. Consider a straight piece of steel. You cannot bend it as it is, but heat it until it softens. Then it will bend into whatever shape you need. The lesson is clear. When something is rigid, it cannot change. When it cannot change, it cannot move or transform. Only by becoming soft and yielding can it be shaped. Conversely, a person who is always rigid cannot cycle back. They cannot renew. From the perspective of the Tao's function, the Tao has no self. It is empty. It is soft. It is yielding. That is why it can give birth to all things. Heaven and earth do not act for themselves. That is why they can sustain all of creation. This is what is meant by yielding is the way of the Tao. Legend says that Confucius once sought instruction from Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu pointed to his hard teeth and his soft tongue. He wanted to convey the essence of the Tao. Softness overcomes hardness. But why can softness overcome hardness? Most people admire strength. Lao Tzu specifically urges us to try softness instead. It is more effortless, safer, and more effective. Consider water. It is the most yielding of all things, yet you cannot cut it. No matter how you strike it, it flows around the blade. Water goes where it will. You cannot sever it with the sharpest edge. The Tao is precious because it has no self. Think carefully about what having no self means. It means having no defining characteristics that things possess. An ox has the nature of an ox, therefore it cannot embody the whole of the Tao. A human being has human nature, therefore they cannot fully attain the Tao. So, a person must relinquish ego. One must let go of every fixed and clinging notion. The day you truly achieve having no self, you transcend yourself. You will accomplish things you never imagined possible. That is what we call the divine. Every person can reach that state. You must simply let go of yourself. But this requires considerable cultivation. It begins with clarity of understanding. Most people today lack that clarity. As we discussed, the physical body is a burden. It is a temporary vessel. It limits you. As long as you are alive in this body, you cannot be divine. You cannot be a fully realized sage. Even reaching the level of a virtuous person is remarkable. If the Tao did not move, it could not give birth. Without movement, there is no change. Without change, things remain in their original state. They cannot grow, develop, or sustain themselves. A woman who never conceives cannot give birth. So, the Tao must move. Movement breaks the existing state. A new condition emerges. New life arises. Things differentiate and diversify. When they reach maturity, they become the 10,000 things. No matter how the Tao transforms, its nature never changes. Change is only a phenomenon. The underlying pattern of change is constant. That is the fundamental principle. Principles cannot change, but methods can. Change and constancy coexist simultaneously. There is a saying that is often misunderstood. Respond to all change with that which does not change. Phenomena are ever changing, but the underlying substance is eternally constant. When change reaches a certain degree, things return to their form. Consider pregnancy. A woman's body changes and her belly grows, but after 10 months the child is born. Her body soon returns to its former state. Change proceeds, and proceeds, and proceeds. Then it reaches a point where it stops and reverts. This is what is meant by return is the movement of the Tao. If a person is too rigid, they cannot return. They cannot go back to their original state. But if they are flexible, they can give and receive. Then they embody yielding is the way of the Tao. Recall chapter 36. We discussed how the soft overcomes the hard. The world tends to bring forth its own opposite. Lao Tzu draws these principles into human life. He tells us all things are born from being, and being is born from non-being. Everything that exists will grow and develop, but do not forget its destiny. Whatever it is destined to die. It is destined to return to the origin. It will ultimately return from being to non-being. Being and non-being appear different. In truth, they are the same. This is what is meant by the profound mystery. It is the paradox that confounds the mind. But do not give up on thinking. Continue to think. One day, you will realize that death is life, and life is death. You will have passed through the question of life and death. You will no longer fear death, nor will you take life lightly. Each of us can begin with ourselves. Take it step by step to understand the Tao. Through practice, we deepen our understanding. We elevate ourselves. Thank you all.